Welcome to Magic Gathering Strat. I'm Bava, and I am doing the first of my weekly Hearthstone videos as part of our new weekly format videos. We're trying to cover different formats with at least one video a week. I will, of course, continue to be doing other videos. I hope to be doing, plenty more Pauper and Weird Brews and flying robots and things like that. But I am going to try and do one Hearthstone video a week. So I hope that you guys can check these out. And we're going to start with the basics, so don't feel like you're going to be left behind. We'll cover the basics of Hearthstone before we get into things like the arena and ranks and stuff like that. So before we even get into the Hearthstone game, I do want to cover how you can get Hearthstone. And the answer is I'm not sure that you can yet. There are beta keys out there. You can buy a beta key, which I did, which is basically like buying a game. I think I got it for 20 bucks. And then I ended up winning another beta key, which I sold. So I ended up getting a beta key for free, essentially, after buying it and then getting my money back. What you need to do is install the battle.net launcher, which is a new thing. You can Google that, and then you have this cool launcher. It's got all of the Blizzard games here: World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, and we'll have Heroes of the Storm here as well. So this is also in beta, but you do need to have this to play Hearthstone. You can't play Hearthstone without it. These other games, I believe that you can play without this launcher installed, but you will need this. And once you have it here, it's pretty easy. You can go between games, check stuff out. If they're not installed, you can install them. If they are installed, you can launch them from here. There's kind of a cool feature if you have friends, for instance, in Hearthstone. There'll be another box here between these two boxes, and it'll tell you that they're logged in and what they're doing. So that's kind of cool too. So once you hit play here, you end up at the lovely Hearthstone loading screen, launch screen, home screen, whatever this is, which looks like this. So you have a few options. I will say that if it's your first time playing the game, that you will end up in sort of an introductory story mode, as it were, which is kind of this practice area where you get to play against the computer to sort of learn the ropes before you have to play against people. So you can make custom decks, but at the beginning you're not going to have custom decks. You're going to have basic decks, and you'll have to go through and unlock cards in the basic decks. And so every class has its own power, and every class has its own specific cards. We can look at some of those cards real quick to give you an idea of what kinds of cards that we're looking at. So this is my collection. Your collection is divided up into class-specific cards. These are cards that are only available to that class, and general cards, or neutral cards, which are cards that are available to every class. So when you're making a deck later on, you can make a deck, for instance, a rogue deck. You can make a deck using as many rogue cards and as many neutral cards as you want to, but you can't use any of these other kinds of cards. So these are part of what give the different classes, rogue, druid, paladin, hunter, their flavor. Their cards have sort of a different bent, a different way that they work. We can go into some of those probably in future episodes. And the other thing that makes classes different is they all have different hero powers, which we can also go into a little bit more here. So you can unlock certain cards in the practice section. So when you first install this, you will have essentially 10 cards that you can unlock. It's actually 2 each of 5 cards that you can unlock and then have available to you for each class. So you have to win matches against the computer to do that, It can be a little time consuming and it can seem a little repetitive, but what it does do is helps you get a better understanding of how each class works. By the time you've played enough matches, for instance, with Druid to get your cards unlocked, you will have a fairly good understanding of how the Druid specifically is kind of meant to work, what makes it strong. So the cards here that don't have any gems under them are the cards that you can earn. So Innervate, which is a ramp spell, gives you extra mana crystals. Moonfire, Claw, Mark of the Wild, and Wild Growth. Healing Touch, Savage Roar, Swipe, Starfire, Ironbark Protector. So these are the cards. This little crystal here is a rarity crystal, and so the ones that don't have a crystal are the ones that you earn, and they don't have a rarity because you earn them within the game, and then you just have them. You're never going to open these in packs, so you'll never get extras. What you can do is as you level up, you can get gold versions, and the gold versions are sort of like foils in Magic, but instead of being foil, they're animated. And so they're pretty cool, like this Power of the Wild. You can see his mane rippling, you can see the moon going by, and they do this while they're on the field. So it's kind of a cooler foil, if I would say, and it's one of the benefits of having a game that was made solely for online. Since this thing is shaking at me, I will say that you have a crafting mode and you have this dust essentially. So when you open packs, if you get more than 2 of any given card, you can disenchant your extra cards. So I have 4 commons that I have more than 2 copies of, and 2 copies is the most that you can have in a deck of anything, and it explains that pretty well. You can only have 1 of each legendary in a deck, so that lets you disenchant them. There's no trading system between players, so the best thing that you can do is just disenchant extras right now, and that gets you dust. And then if you want to make cards, you can actually go in, you can see all the cards that are available that you don't have, and you can craft them. So for instance, Savagery, it tells me what it does. This is kind of where you can see the flavor text. As far as I know, it's the only place you can see the flavor text. So it's kind of cool to go through and do that. And then if I wanted to, I could spend 100 of my dust and I could make this card. And then I would have it in my collection. If I had extras or if I had cards I just really didn't like, especially at higher rarities, I could also come in here and disenchant them. But you can see the ratio is 1 to 5. I think it's 1 to 4 on some of the higher rarity things. Yeah, 1 to 4 here. So you're always getting much less from disenchanting than it will cost to create. But that's something we don't have to worry about too much right now. All right, so let's get out of the collection mode. You kind of have an idea here. And we'll go back into the practice screen. So the basic decks are just going to have very certain cards in them. So let's play the Mage deck, Jaina Proudmoore. And so once you are here practicing, you choose your basic deck that you want to play with, and you can choose either normal or expert will unlock eventually. So let's play against Rogue with our Mage on normal. And this will be sort of a basic game, and I'll let you see one of the basic decks that the game gives you essentially. So you can see the interface here is pretty slick. And this is our play board. And so now we're getting into the nitty-gritty. So we'll go over some of the card stats here, and then we'll talk a little bit about this mulligan process. So these are fairly straightforward. The number in the top left is the casting cost. All cards use magic crystals rather than mana, and you gain 1 every turn. So the starting player will start with 1. At the beginning of your turn, you'll gain 1. So he's going to be the starting player. I'm going to be the player who goes second. So he's always going to be 1 crystal ahead of me. He'll always get his second crystal before I do. To make up for that, I'll be getting something called the coin, which is a one-time effect that lets me ramp 1 crystal. So the Novice Engineer, for instance, costs 2 crystals. It has an attack of 1, has 2 health, and it has a battle cry effect, which is basically an enter the battlefield effect. So when this enters the battlefield, I draw a card. The River Crocolisk is a 2-cost 2/3. He doesn't have any effect. If they don't have a power or toughness, they're considered a spell. So Arcane Intellect lets me draw 2 cards for 3 crystals, and Polymorph turns a minion into a 1/1 sheep for 4 crystals. So the mulligan process, you can pick however many of these you want to. I'm actually pretty happy with mine, but I think I will mulligan 1 just so you can see. So you can pick any of these you want to, hit confirm. You'll get a new card just replacing that 1 card, and that's it. That's your mulligan. You can't get mana screwed, so you don't have to worry about that. All right. And so here we are. So our opponent went first as the rogue. She got 1 crystal and she used it. So we can see that she used all of her crystals, left with 0 at the end of her turn of the 1 she had available. And we can see that I got a crystal. So I have 1 crystal available out of the 1 total. I do have this coin here, which gives me 1 extra mana crystal. So I could cast a 2-cost minion, these are minions, or spell this turn if I wanted to. I also have, and both of us have, our hero's hero power. So this is the hero. This is your hero health. This is how you win the game, is by getting your opponent's hero health to 0. And this is the special power. So for the rogue, the special power is to equip a 1/2 dagger. And a 1/2 dagger, weapons are another kind of card that you can have. So your hero basically would equip a weapon and have a 1/2 dagger, and then your hero can attack, much like the minions can attack. The only problem with your hero attacking is that, for instance, if I had a 1/2 dagger over here and I was attacking this guy, I would deal the 1 damage to kill the archer, but the archer would also deal its 1 power to me. So even though you can use your hero that way to attack minions and kill them, you do take the damage to your face. So that's something to think about when you do that. I think at this point I have 2 2-drops, so my best bet here is to coin into one of them. I'll grab this one. Cool. And so she came into the field. She has the ZZZs, which is basically summoning sickness. She can't attack this turn. And so we're out of crystals. When we're done, we hit end turn. So the rogue's hero power is to equip a dagger. The mage's hero power is that for 2 of my crystals any turn, I can deal 1 damage to anything, which is pretty handy. So I think that I'm going to use my arcane missiles right now. It deals 3 damage randomly split among enemy characters. When it uses the word character, it means both minions and your opponent's hero. So we could conceivably do 3 damage here, or 3 damage. I don't think it'll actually hit something more than it has toughness, but it's worth a shot here. That was pretty good. So we did 1 damage to her, and now we're just going to throw our Novice Engineer under the bus, as it were. And we only used 1 of our crystals, so we weren't maximizing our crystals this turn, but we did clear his board, and we have card advantage. So we're in a pretty good position. Alright, so you can see she equipped a weapon, so she has a 1/2 dagger now. And then she gave it +2 attack. She has a 3/2. So she chose to attack me, and you can see it lost 1 durability, basically. So the first number is obviously the attack, and the second number is the amount of times that you can attack with it. So a 1/2 dagger would deal 1 damage every attack. You can attack with it twice. She made it a 3/2, so it's dealing 3 damage. And she can attack with it twice, so she can attack with it 1 more time. So 3 mana is a little clunky for us. We don't have anything that costs 3, because I wanted to show you the mulligan. So I'm going to get a River Crocolisk out here and end my turn. Alright, so she's playing the aggressive rogue, sapping my Crocolisk, so it gets returned to my hand. So it's a big tempo play. And this is very much the rogue style here against us. Alright, so we want to maximize our damage output, so I'm going to get 2 River Crocolisks this turn. Because the 2 7s aren't really going to help me until there's something else to deal with. Uh-oh. Blammo. Alright. I kind of just want to polymorph and then hit her. Alright, so I'm just going to polymorph this guy, which will take it from a 4/4 and turn it into a 1/1. But then I'm going to choose to hit her and try and get her life total down a little bit. We're losing the race right now as far as life goes. We've got a better board presence and card advantage, so we're not in a horrible spot. And this is a good opportunity to see Taunt. Taunt is one of the main abilities in this game, and that you have to attack something with Taunt before you can attack anything else. So I have these 2/3 guys, and they want to attack stuff. And it'll tell you. So I have to get rid of the guy with Taunt before I can attack anything else, which is pretty cool. I like the way that that works. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our Arcane Explosion. It's going to deal 1 damage to everything. And then I'm going to use my Fireball ability, my Fire Blast ability, to kill off this guy with Taunt. And that way I can keep hitting my opponent. So we'll do that first. We'll shoot him. Bring this in, and we'll get the Murloc Raider. I didn't get him last turn because I didn't want her to throw her sheep into it. But this way, she either takes 2 damage to attack it with a dagger, or she weakens her Inventor so that I can blow it up with a Fire Blast next turn. You can see the damage that minions take is constant. There are things that will heal them, but otherwise they don't restore their health on their own. So she started out as a 2/4, she's taken 1 damage, so she's a 2/3 right now. All right, well we need to do some stuff here, right? I really want to clear his board because we're having a tough time here otherwise. So, but I think that we could do this. And yeah. All right, so we're catching up a little bit. We used our Fireball, which is one of my favorite cards that the mage has, which is just 6 damage for 4, so it's pretty great. The Rogue is all card advantage here, which is pretty challenging for us. So some sort of sweeper here would be great, but I think we don't really get any sweepers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're in a pretty bad spot health-wise. What we can do is I think we have to get this Boulder Fist Ogre anyway. take this guy out. We could kill another guy. Or if we get him to 11, then we have lethal next turn, and that means that he has to do something. He either has to kill us, which is pretty possible, with an eviscerate, or take on some of our creatures. So let's go ahead and do that and see what the computer chooses to do. It's going to go straight for our face. There's that, and then an eviscerate will take us out. There's a dagger. Alright. Okay. So what we have 11 damage. So even though the tempo is in his favor, by getting this big power creature on the board, we have lethal. Now, if he'd gotten something with taunt, that would have pretty much sucked, because we would have had to attack that before we could do any lethal. But as it is, we can do this the easy way, which is just to use our hero power and get our opponent to 0. So we win that match despite the board advantage there being with our opponent at the end. So that was a basic match with the mage, and it defaults us back to the custom decks. But in the story mode, and you'll figure this out if you do it, you start with one class, you unlock more as you go along, and then you unlock the cards. And you can see our heroes level up, and you get certain rewards. So even after you've unlocked all of the basic cards, you get golden cards later as you level up. So when I get my hunter to level 15, I'll get golden tracking. So it's the same basic tracking card, but it's the golden version that we saw, which is animated, kind of like a Hearthstone foil card. So that's the practice. And we looked at the collection a little bit, so let's look at the quest log. Quests are essentially a way for you to earn gold, and then you can use gold to do things like buy packs and enter the arena. So you can have up to 3 quests at a time. Once per day you can get rid of a quest and take a different quest. I don't actually want to do that because I have really nice overlap right now. So just by playing rogue, I can fulfill this quest and this quest and this quest all at the same time, which if you want to optimize your play, it's a really good way to go. So you can see we need to win 5 games with Druid or Rogue to fulfill this quest. You can see our progress. So I've won 2 games out of the 5, so I need to win 3 more to do that. Beat down and deal 100 damage to enemy heroes. That's your opponent directly, and so I've done about 2/3 of that there. So those are our quests. And then there's the shop, and in the shop you just buy packs right now. So if you want to spend gold that you've earned, you can do that. You can buy 1 pack for 100 gold. So I could buy 3 packs now that way if I wanted to. Or you can spend real money. So if I wanted to spend $3, I can get 2 packs. I can get 7 packs for $10, etc. And you get 5 expert Hearthstone cards. At least one's going to be rare or better. We'll buy 1 just so we can look at it. And so then when you get packs, and you can get packs in the arena as well. Actually, you'll always get at least 1 pack in the arena. You can open them. And it's just like opening a pack anywhere else. So a pack has 5 cards. You just kind of get to flip them over and check them out. So we can see we got that guy. We got a rare, the Frothing Berserker. Redemption for Paladin. Silence for Priest. And a neutral card, the Bloodsail Raider. So those are the cards that we got. And after you open a pack, you can go in, and if you got any duplicates, you can go into crafting mode and disenchant your extras. So I got 4 commons that I already had 2 of, so I can get 20 more dust by disenchanting those. And that dust will just add up so that I can go in and craft the cards that I need. So if I wanted to build a deck, for instance, and I needed some starfalls to build that, I could come in here and I could craft them. Right now I'm just saving my desk because I'm not sure which cards I need to build the decks I want to build. I'm not sure which decks those are yet, but we will come to that in this adventure at some point. So before we end, I think that's sort of a basic introduction. We'll play one match, a ranked match, with my rogue deck here. And we could take a look at this rogue deck first, I guess. So if I go into my collection, I can see all my cards. I can also see my deck lists. The deck list is over here, and we take cards out just by clicking on them, and we add cards just by clicking on them over here. So this is our collection, and this is our deck list. You can have up to 2 of any particular card in your deck, unless it's a legend. And I'll show you, for instance, the Rogue Legend, or we have Edwin Van Cleef, for instance. And so he's a legendary creature. He's a 2/2 for 3, but he also has a combo, and combo means that if you've played another spell or a card in your turn before you play him, then you'll get his combo ability. So his combo ability in this case is he gets +2/+2 for each card played earlier this turn. And Rogue can be very good at playing cheap cards, even 0-cost cards, and playing 3, 4, 5 cards in a turn. So he could come out and easily be a 6/6 for 3 or an 8/8 for 3, which is pretty good value. So for the legendaries, you can only have 1 of any legendary in your deck. So this particular rogue deck focuses on card advantage with things like loot order. He has Death Rattle, which means that when he dies, you draw a card. Novice Engineer, who we saw, when she comes into play, you draw a card. Gnomish Inventor, draw a card. Azure Drake, draw a card. And then guys that have other enter the battlefield abilities, like dealing 2 damage. This guy's great because he gives minions to either side +1/+1 and gives them taunt. Dark Iron Dwarf and Shattered Sun Cleric both buff. Harvest Golem, when it dies, you get another creature, so that's card advantage as well. Fan of Knives is damage that draws a card. The Ringleader can give you 2 guys. Eviscerate's just a great direct damage card. Poison, Backstab, those are all sort of ways to get rid of your opponent's creatures. So that's the idea of this. It's based on a rogue deck by Kithros, though I don't have some of the legendaries that should be in here. So it's kind of a budget rogue deck, but it works pretty well, and we'll play in ranked. So you have choices here when you're playing against people to play casual. So if you're just trying out a new deck and you don't want tough competition, or you don't want to lose ranking, because you will lose ranking when you lose games, you can play casual. But we're going to play ranked. And the rank resets every month, and there are leaderboards. So if you want to compare yourself to other players and see ranks and stuff, then you can get up from rank 24 all the way into legendary, which is where you'll see the good players like Artosis playing. And it's not hard to get to legendary, it just takes a lot of time. A lot of playing Hearthstone. Alright, so now we're playing against another player. We're at a pretty low rank, but you never know. Generally, in the mulligan process, you want to get rid of the stuff that's going to cost a lot. You want that to come up later. So you want stuff you can cast early. So we'll get rid of the Drake. We'll grab a Defender of Argus. A little bit better. And we are going second. You can always tell you're going second based on whether or not you see 4 cards that you can mulligan or 3. The player who goes first only gets 3 cards to look at and to mulligan from, and the player who goes second gets 4 cards to mulligan from. So we can coin into something, and I think I will, because I can coin into one of my 2-drops, which means that next turn I can just natively cast one of my other 2-drops. So I'm going to use the coin, and I'm going to get the 2-drop that deals a little bit more damage. That way I can try and get in and hit him a little bit harder for a turn or 2. One thing that I didn't talk about is the emotes. If you right click on your hero, you can say greetings. You can also say well played, which you usually say at the end of the match. You can say thanks, sorry, oops, I made a mistake, or threaten them if you're feeling threatening. So we'll hit him for 2. We'll get a novice engineer, draw a card. Backstab, super nice, and we will end our turn. Since you cannot do anything on your opponent's turn, there are no instants in this game. There are secrets, which we can talk about at some point, certainly. You can play with your environment, and we'll do that on his next turn. So he got a 3/3 bear that has taunt, so I need to kill that guy before I can keep dealing damage to my opponent. And there are various ways I could do that. I could backstab him and then hit him with one of these guys. I could bring my Shattered Sun Cleric in, which could make him have 3 power. Or I can get a weapon and use one of my deadly poisons. And I think I'm going to do that because it leaves my minions on the board, which I like. So I'm going to make my weapon a 3/2. The downside of this is that I will take 3 damage. The upside is that I have a 3/1 dagger still, and I have both my minions on the board. They're not powerful minions, but if they can get in every turn, we can have a good tempo play. Alright, well, there go my minions, but at least we got rid of his multi-shot. That's good for us. Alright, so we see a loot hoarder here anyway. I think, though, that I'm just going to, even though this fizzles a little bit, I'm just going to get my Dark Iron Dwarf. And we'll end the turn. So Hunter's hero ability, which we saw, is that he can deal 2 damage, but he can only do it to the enemy hero. So Hunters tend to be very aggressive. It's not like the mage where you can deal 1 damage to anything. You can deal 2 damage, but only directly to your opponent. You can't target creatures with it, or minions in this game. So if your opponent's waiting around, you can do stuff like break windows, turn lights off, ring the bell, break the sign, break the roof, mess with the plant, shut the door, open the door, play with the straw, break the barrel, mess with the flag, annoy the griffin, drop the bucket down the well, break a hole in the clock tower roof, and you can, sometimes, I can barely get it to work, make this move, or you can at least make clocky noises. Alright, so we played a beast, and then he killed my 4/4, which is very sad, but we can, and we want to, we can backstab this guy to get rid of him. And I think to maximize my mana, I will get my loot hoarder and do that. I'm not attacking with my weapon because I want to have this 3 damage up in case I want to hit something. We're playing a little bit more of a control-y card advantage rogue rather than a win as fast as you can rogue. So I'm leaving this back. Aw. Darn. So he played a guy that had silence. Silence gets rid of all effects. So it got rid of the +1/+1 that the Shattered Sun Cleric gave this guy. It also got rid of his Death Rattle ability. He became a vanilla 2/1, as it were. And that's the other thing I was going to say that's dangerous about leaving your weapon there, is that this guy is a 2-drop and he destroys your opponent's weapon. So, however, I think that I will just get my weapon and we'll have a 5/4 weapon, and at this point we'll just start beating the hell out of our opponent probably. I do want to get rid of his guys. All of his guys? No, I'll make him attack me. There's always the question when you're choosing, and when you attack with minions, you choose whether to attack your opponent's minions or your opponent directly. And there's always the question when you're attacking whether or not this Ironbeak Owl is going to attack me next turn or my guy. If I think my opponent's going to attack my guy, it makes much better sense for me to use my attack to hit my opponent, because then I get 3 damage and he'll use his owl to these guys will trade anyway. So while I could have killed his owl and traded, the way that I played it, I got 3 damage into my opponent, which was much better. Alright, so this guy basically has Death Touch. And go ahead, because I'm going to eviscerate him. Oh, or not. Man. Alright. Well, I'm going to attack him then. Because I have to. We'll get the Gnomish Inventor. Good deal. And we'll eviscerate this guy. And so eviscerate, but since I cast another spell, the Gnomish Inventor, before eviscerate, I got the combo. So instead of dealing 2 damage, it dealt 4. And yeah, let's talk about this for a second. You can see a history of the last actions here. So I eviscerated that guy, and the skull says that he died. I got the Gnomish Inventor. I attacked with my weapon and got the Cobra, which was a 4/5. There's no graveyard to speak of, and this doesn't go any further. He threatened me, so I will threaten him. How about I'll end my turn so that he can go. So we've got our emotes here. If our opponent's being annoying with his, we can squelch them, which means we'll no longer hear their emotes. That's all that does. Alright, well that's frustrating. Let's Fan of Knives, so we can draw a card. Fan of Knives again, so we can draw another card. Or, it's tough, huh? We can do that, make him a 3. Sure, we'll do that. Bong, now he's a 3/5. Yeah, beat it. Alright, so we can attack this one. Question is, should I kill this guy off with my weapon? I think the answer is yes. Far superior board presence. We have the same amount of cards. So he gets to track. Maybe find an answer. Well, that's a nice little combo for him. Yeah, ouch. Okay. Fan of Knives is going to put a serious cramp in his style. And then I think we just win 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. Yeah. Alright. So we say well played, because we're going to win. And kill all those guys. Bonk. And then come in here for lethal. So it got pretty close there at the end. He got the cards he needed for his little Summon the Hounds combo. But we advanced to rank. We are now at Argent Squire rank, which is still 23, quite low. And we leveled up. My rogue is now level 24. We did this basic quest. Every 3 wins you can get 10 gold. So you can, even if you don't have quests, you can get gold that way. Yay! And then we'll see our quest progress. So we're close to finishing our beatdown quest, and we have our other quests we advanced as well. So I hope that gave you a good idea of what Hearthstone is all about. In the future, I'll probably just play some ranked games and try and increase my rank, but maybe next time we'll do an arena as well. And we'll look at some of the other hero powers. Really quickly, we saw the rogue hero power, which we can see here, equip a 1/2 dagger. The paladin's hero power is to summon a 1/1 Silverhand Recruit, so get a 1/1 minion for 2. We saw the hunter deal 2 damage. The druid gives you 1 armor. Armor basically prevents damage just to your hero, and 1 attack. So the druid is all about, instead of like having weapons, like turning himself into a weapon. So he can attack for 1 and he gets an armor. We saw the mage just deal 1 damage to anything. The shaman can summon a totem. He's got 4 totems to choose from. There's a 1/1 minion totem. There's a 0/2 totem with taunt. There's a 0/2 totem that heals all of your other minions for 1 at the end of each turn. And there's a 0/2 totem that gives you spell power. Spell power makes your damaging spells do extra damage for each spell power you have. So if you have 1 extra spell power on the board, a fireball, which would normally deal 6, would deal 7. Shamans, of course, don't have fireballs. And then the priest can restore 2 health to anything. That can restore 2 health to a minion, to one of your enemy's minions, to your enemy hero, to yourself. So that's some of those. Did we miss any? Let's see. The warrior just gains 2 armor, which can be pretty handy. And the warlock can take 2 damage and draw a card. So those are the hero powers, and we'll play around with some different classes next time. For now, this is Bava. Thanks for watching. Magic Gathering Strat. Now is playing some Hearthstone. I hope this has been a good introduction for you guys, and I will catch y'all later.